Patel and Nehru differed, and Mountbatten was always with Nehru. However, once Patel had decided, then he was in a cheerful mood because decision had been taken. That was revealed by what told Munshi over the telephone. Munshi records. Next day, after Mountbatten's departure, I heard Sardar's voice over the phone vibrating with good cheer. Well, Munshi, how are you? Is everything all right? What about Nizam? Oh, he's all right there, I said. Then I told him about Zahid's settlement, as if he had never doubted of such a thing. What settlement? He now felt himself the master of the game. The Mountbatten settlement, I said. Tell him that settlement has gone to England, he replied caustically and laughed. Patel also publicly stated the terms and the talks which Mountbatten had gone with him. Now the settlement with the Nizam will have to be done on the lines of other settlements with the states. No help from outside on which he seems to rest. Patel's path was not yet all clear. Mountbatten's policies seemed to be dominating Nehru's mind. 4 days prior to Mountbatten's departure, he had stated, "We will pursue an open door policy so that as far as these proposals offered by Mountbatten are concerned, and the Nizam is welcome to accept them any time he chooses." This was not acceptable to Patel at all. It was a policy of drift, which the Nizam had successfully managed so far with the support of Mountbatten. In a letter of June 21 to N.V. Gadgil, Patel wrote, "I am rather worried about Hyderabad. This is the time when we should take firm and definite action. There should be no vacillation, and the more public the action is, the greater and effective. It will have to be on the morale. It will have to boost the morale of our people, both here and in Hyderabad, and will convince our opponents that we mean business. If even now we relax, we shall not only be doing disservice to the country, but would be digging our own grave." The situation was climaxing towards confrontation. On 2nd August, like Ali told the state legislature, Hyderabad has decided to refer the case to United Nations. The Indians may coerce us. They may subject us to any ordeals. They may overrun us by their military strength. We cannot give up our stand. We shall not give up our freedom. Earlier, he had told a Muslim deputation that if the Union government takes any action against Hyderabad, 100,000 men are ready to join our army. We also have 100 bombers in Saudi Arabia ready to bomb Bombay. Munshi reported to Patel on 3rd August, "During the last fortnight, the atrocities of the Razakars have become utterly irresponsible, and loot, murder, rape are going on in more than one district." By early July, Hyderabad bore the appearance of a war camp. Gunning down from Goa by land and from Karachi by air had been accelerated. On 6 July, India's Secretary General Girija Shankar Bajpai informed India's High Commissioner in London, Krishna Menon, of gun running by air into Hyderabad from airfields near Karachi. Engaged in these operations was an Australian, Sydney Cotton, who had smuggled arms and ammunition into Hyderabad by night, landing his aircraft either at Bidar or at Warangal. Thomas Emsburg, the Commander-in-Chief of Indian Air Force, warned the Defence Minister Baldev Singh that if these gun-running aircraft were loaded up with bombs, he could be powerless to intercept them with the aircraft at his disposal. Pakistan's complexity was clear from what Pakistan's General Gracie told to India's General Butcher on 30th August. Any coercion of Hyderabad would put Pakistan in an impossible position should civil disorder break out in India. Pakistan's hostility was seen in her cashing a portion of the 20 crore Government of India securities which the Nizam had offered to Pakistan as a loan. Further, the Nizam's UN delegation had first visited Karachi prior to proceeding to the USA. Reference to UNO had been made on Mokanton's advice in the expectation that it would delay police action, and that even the UNO might get India to accept modifications to the rejected Mountbatten drafts. Patel called to Dehradun. Major General J.N. Chaudhry, who was to lead operations, and subjected him to a cross-examination for his personal assurance before giving the army a go-ahead. Chaudhry records what Patel told him. If I did well, I would take the credit. But if things went wrong, I would be blamed. But whatever I did, I would be supported. This was the wonderful thing about working with Patel. He gave a feeling of intimacy. His wholehearted backing and unflinching faith in men under him not only spurred them into action, but helped them to attain final victory, never to retreat as he himself had never done. In a democratic setup, cabinet sanction was essential for police action. Patel faced a formidable task in overcoming Nehru's reluctance. At one of the meetings of the Defence Committee, of which Nehru was chairman, there was so much bitterness that Sardar Patel walked out, seeing his seat vacant. VP Menon told a Rotary meeting in Mumbai, I too walked out 5 minutes later. This seemed to have shaken Nehru out of his complacent mood and mellowed his opposition. Later, at a meeting attended by the Governor General Rajagopalachari, the Prime Minister, the Home Minister Patel, and Secretary to the States Ministry Menon, it was decided to order troops into Hyderabad. Patel had yet to face the Hamlet in Nehru. The British Commander-in-Chief of Indian Army, General Roy Butcher, persuaded Nehru that even at the late stage, the campaign would be called off as military risk and hazard on the grounds of internal security of the whole country. About midnight on September 12, after he had spoken to Nehru, Butcher attempted a real feat in pulling Patel out of bed at that hour and advised him to at least postpone action for fear of air attacks on Bombay and Ahmedabad, and reminded Butcher how London had suffered during the Great war and coolly assured him that Ahmedabad and Bombay both could stand up to an attack if it came. Bhuchar Munshi writes, was hesitant throughout. He overestimated the capacity of the Hyderabad army, underestimated that of his own troops, and knew not the ability of Sardar to deal with problems of internal law and order. Like most Englishmen, he was unable to realize that no price was too high to be paid for eliminating the Razakars menace which threatened the very existence of India. In H.V.R. Iyengar's view, the verdict of history will be that the Sardar was right, a verdict which Nehru wholeheartedly agreed later, not then. Indian troops marched into Hyderabad on September 13. The campaign was named Operation Polo. It lasted barely 108 hours. Patel replied to Jam Sahib's congratulation. The whole operation went through like a machine. The army earned a handsome tribute from Patel, who wrote to Bhuchar, I would like to send you and the officers and men under your command my sincerest felicitations on the successful conclusion of the Hyderabad operations. The speed and skill of these operations cannot fail to exhort admiration even from our severest critics. And I have no doubt that history will record these operations as a masterpiece of efficiency, organization, and all-round cooperation. The Indian Army had added one more chapter to its glorious record of achievements, and I should like to convey to you, and through you, all those who have had a hand in these operations, my personal thanks for the part which each one has played. We are proud of them all. Bhuchar had admitted to his sister in a letter of 4th April 1948, the real trouble there seemed to be that the Nizam had become bound hand and foot to the Ittihad ul Muslimin. The Indian policy is one of reasonableness insofar as this is practical. Congratulatory messages poured in from Switzerland. The Jam Sahib wrote to Patel, here I am just rejoicing on your splendid success over Hyderabad and in fact over the Security Council. Muslim leaguers Sohrawardi, who was responsible for the great Calcutta killing, congratulated Patel. I take the liberty of offering you most sincerely my very best thanks and congratulations on the speech that you made just before the Hyderabad surrender. It has been widely appreciated by Muslims in India. Even Mokanton could not help writing to Nehru, I want to tell you how relieved I am that the action which you were eventually driven to take did not result in large-scale communal troubles. I know how anxious you were not to take action at all and how hard you struggled to avoid it. Everyone who wants to see a peaceful and prosperous India will rejoice as I do that the episode is quietly finished. Nehru was most happy with the outcome. His fears and doubts had been set at rest. He wrote to the chief ministers on 21st September. What has happened in Hyderabad has created a situation which should lead to stabilization of communal situation in India, or rather to a progressive elimination of the communal sentiment. He again wrote on 4th October I have a feeling that India has turned the corner, more especially since these Hyderabad operations. We are on the upgrade now. The atmosphere is different and better. Patel visited Hyderabad in the last week of February 1949. His courteous treatment of the defeated Nizam not only dispelled the latter's fear but cemented a friendship between the two. The Nizam wrote to Patel, I was glad to get an opportunity of making my acquaintance with you and hope that this will prove to be a happy augury for the future of the premier state of Hyderabad. Patel large-heartedly replied to him, I am happy to learn your exalted highness has adapted yourself so readily to the changed conditions. As I told you, your exalted highness, while error is a human feeling, divine injunctions all point to forgetting and forgiving. It is the duty of human beings to contribute their share to this process by sincere repentance and by employing the period that is left in discharging their duty to their people and to their God. A grateful Nizam again wrote to Patel on 12th May, your great personality is a valuable asset for India at this critical period when the whole world is in turmoil. Boucher, who had opposed the operations, paid glowing tributes to Patel in his admission. I take no credit to myself. I take no credit to myself for the success of Hyderabad operation. In all these circumstances, from the beginning to the end, I was not prepared to say go until every possible development had been thought about and guarded against. The Sardar, in my opinion, is a very great man indeed. Undoubtedly, he was right when he decided either the government of Hyderabad must accept the Indian government's condition or else the state would have to be entered in order to eliminate the Razakars. Writing in the Christian Science Monitor, W. Gordon Graham called Patel the man who by his decisiveness resolved the great Hyderabad crisis. Hyderabad, a state covering 80,000 square miles in the heart of peninsular India, was at that time in a grip of an unscrupulous minority which aimed at secessions from India. Had the bid succeeded, India might not have survived as a political unit. This situation needed a man of iron who would not only balk at his coercive action, but in the state, in the Sardar's India, had that vital moment, just the man, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel.